Has the Maranello team finally found an effective response to the absolute dominance of the papaya cars, or have these technical modifications come too late to rescue a campaign that already seemed doomed? The events at the Austrian circuit may have drastically altered the path of the traditional Italian team for the rest of the 2025 season, but the fundamental question remains: is there still time for Ferrari to turn this situation around? Or is it time to acknowledge that the opportunity has slipped away? Let's start with the fundamental situation. Ferrari arrived in 2025 carrying colossal expectations. After a 2024 campaign in which it achieved regular wins and podium finishes, positioning the team in contention for its first Constructors' Championship since 2008, everyone expected the traditional Italian team to maintain its progress. However, reality hit the Maranello facilities hard. Not only did the papaya cars manage to make remarkable technical progress, but Ferrari itself seems to have taken a step backward by choosing to follow a philosophy that is totally different from last season's model. This aspect represents a fundamental element that many do not fully understand. When a team chooses to drastically modify the concept of its single-seater, it cannot simply switch between different approaches and expect to start from the same point in technical development. Innovative concepts always create gaps in knowledge that only become apparent when the vehicle is in action on the track, facing real speeds and challenges that no simulation can fully anticipate. This is precisely what happened to Ferrari in 2025. While the papaya cars were refining their established concept, Ferrari was essentially relearning the first steps with a completely revamped vehicle. The early months of the season were extremely challenging, very challenging. Lewis Hamilton, who arrived as the great hope for salvation, found himself battling with an unstable car that was difficult to drive. Charles Leclerc, who dominates the team like few others, also struggled to find speed. Then we arrived at the Austrian circuit, and something changed. Ferrari introduced a modification to the floor that, although modest in terms of the number of components, promised significant results. And it really worked. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc finished third and fourth, which, considering the season so far, was almost a symbolic triumph. The modifications included minor changes to the four main sections of the floor: the barriers, the ends, the central part, and the diffuser. The purpose was clear: to provide a more stable level of downforce at all stages of the corners and the grip that a Formula One car experiences. Because it's no good having peaks of downforce if you can never reach that peak. Hamilton was blunt after the race. "I think we've made progress. The modification was quite modest, so we weren't really sure how it would work. They didn't even talk about time gains because it was so small. But I think it may have been a bigger result than just putting the floor on the car. That's genuinely positive." Hamilton also revealed that they discovered a specific problem with his car during qualifying, which cost him approximately 1/10 of a second. In today's Formula One, 1/10 can mean the difference between starting in second or fifth position. Leclerc confirmed, "Definitely a step forward, and I think it helped us to be on the podium today." But here comes a piece of information that could change everything. Leclerc revealed that more modifications are in the pipeline. Ferrari is focusing on closing the gap to the front runners and, consequently, overtaking Red Bull and Mercedes on their best days. But wait, there's an important point here. The lack of performance from both Red Bull and Mercedes in Austria ended up diminishing the significance of Ferrari's result. Mercedes struggled to cope with the 50-degree track temperatures, while Max Verstappen was eliminated on the first lap due to an incident with Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So, has Ferrari really improved that much? Or were the circumstances in their favor? Silverstone will be the real test for these new parts, especially since temperatures are expected to be lower than at the Red Bull Ring. There is still the possibility of rain further complicating the situation. But now, the question on every Ferrari fan's mind is it already too late? Unfortunately, the opportunity to compete for the championship has already passed. The papaya cars are too far ahead, and even with the improvements, Ferrari has still not managed to close the gap on the orange cars. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri practically broke away from the pack in Austria, leaving everyone else to fight for the remaining positions. However, and here lies the interesting aspect, it seems that Ferrari has completely changed its approach. The goal is no longer to take down the papaya cars and their drivers. Now the intention is to preserve second place in the Constructors' Championship and continue developing the vehicle, seeking performance gains even though it knows it will not win the title. This raises a fascinating strategic question. Many might think, now is the time to abandon 2025 and focus all resources on developing the 2026 car with the new regulations. But Ferrari thinks differently. They believe there is value in continuing to develop the current car. Why? Because even if the developments do not directly influence next year's car, understanding and developing the factory's tools will be fundamental. Much of this involves keeping simulation and development capabilities up to date. Following the 2025 development curve ensures that they can eliminate any problems in the fundamental processes. Exploring the capabilities of the new 2025 suspension package is also important because it could influence what the dynamics experts will try to do with the 2026 car. Jerome D'Ambrosio, deputy team principal, was very direct about this after Austria. Obviously, we are at a stage of the season where we need to consider resources, and in fact, it is something we have been considering since the beginning of the year. 2026 is a big change, but we also have 2025. We want to progress. We want to keep moving forward, balancing the two. It's a risky bet, but a smart one. Ferrari is betting that it can balance the development of both cars without harming either project. They believe they can turn 2025 around in the second half of the year, but crucially, they want to put those plans into practice rather than leaving them as purely theoretical scenarios. There is another factor that cannot be overlooked. If the papaya cars make a catastrophic mistake, Ferrari wants to be in a position to benefit the most. It wouldn't be the first time that the prancing horse has capitalized on a rival's sudden misfortune. The history of Formula One is full of twists and turns, and those who are prepared when opportunity arises are the ones who take home the trophy. The interesting thing is that this strategy of continuing to develop in 2025 may be exactly what Ferrari needs for 2026. Keep the team sharp, the processes running, and accumulate technical knowledge that will be crucial when the new rules arrive. So, returning to the initial question, did these changes from Ferrari come too late? For the 2025 championship? Probably yes. But for the future of the team, for 2026, and to keep Ferrari a competitive force in Formula One, they may have come at just the right time. What we saw in Austria was just the beginning. Ferrari has promised more changes, and if they can maintain this pace of development, 2026 could be the year of complete redemption. But until then, let's see if they can at least bother the papaya cars and show that the prancing horse still has fire in its veins. What do you think? Does Ferrari still have a chance to surprise us in 2025, or is it time to accept that this is a year of rebuilding? More importantly, do you believe that the lessons learned in 2025 will make a real difference when the new rules come into effect in 2026? Leave your opinion in the comments because this debate is just beginning. And if you want to understand how these rule changes could completely revolutionize Formula One, click on the video appearing on your screen now, because there I explain everything about the bombshells that are coming behind the scenes in the category.